Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has signaled that should the Democrats have control of the Senate after the election um, and going into the next term, that there are plans to do some major Supreme Court reform with or without Republican support. If that means nuking the filibuster and just pushing it through, that means they will, um, including pushing for an enforceable code of ethics, recusal ideas, like when they should recuse. That way, you wouldn't have somebody like Clarence Thomas, whose wife was clearly involved in January 6th, still sitting there hearing cases about January 6th, and just giving it some teeth. They want to also deal with these financial disclosures that the Supreme Court is barely following. Um, and make sure that they're not getting gifts and contributions from donors, uh, and then hearing cases from those donors, things like that. But one of the other things they want to look at and they want to crack down on is this idea of judge shopping, where you get somebody in a area where the judge is, based on previous rulings, is going to be issuing a favorable ruling for whatever case you want to hear, and you file your decision down there in that case. A lot of times it ends up somewhere in Texas. A lot of times it ends up in a courtroom that is overseen by the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, because they seem to be the ones that do a lot of the major overturning, things like that, that go against it. And Chuck Schumer says the Democrats want to abolish this idea of judge shopping, whether that be a randomized assignment where, oh, you filed your case, in federal court. Well, you get a random courtroom somewhere in the district overseen by that appellate court or something of that nature, um, is yet to be seen. They haven't given a lot of the specifics, but they want to go into it. They also were talking about implementing Joe Biden's plan for 18-year term limits on Supreme Court justices. Now, the term limit thing would be a little harder. I believe they would need a constitutional amendment for that, and they could not pass an amendment with just a simple majority in the Senate. They would still need 2/3 in both the Senate and the House, but they would be heading in that direction. And they could attempt to do a bill that says that there's a term limit, until it gets challenged by to the Supreme Court. However, like I said, I think that would probably get tossed as unconstitutional, and they would be required to have an amendment, because as of right now, the U.S. Constitution does say that Supreme Court justices serve in periods of good behavior, and that's all it says, which up until now has been determined to be a lifetime appointment. So Chuck Schumer has said that there is support to reform the Supreme Court, and they are going to be working on it a lot if we give them the Senate. It is very important that we give Vice President Kamala Harris a favorable Senate so she can get things done, as well as get all of her nominees to various positions appointed and confirmed by the Senate so they can step in and start filling the roles that they need to fill, because it would be a much harder prospect with a Republican-controlled Senate.